Thank you, and welcome to another edition of the Sustainable Scoop. I'm Miriam Gennari, and today my guest is Carla de la Pava. She is the Chief Deputy Treasurer of Arlington County, but in addition to working here in Arlington as the Deputy Treasurer, she now would like to be Arlington's new Treasurer. Welcome.
Thank you, Miriam.
Now, let's just start off by saying we still have a treasurer.
Absolutely,
Frank
we do.
O'Leary. How long has Frank been in his job?
Frank took office in January of 1984, 30 years ago.
And now you've been with Frank at the office here in Arlington for how long?
I've been Frank's chief deputy for 6 years now.
Okay. Now, let's give him credit. He's been there a while. He's accomplished a lot of good things. So you're not interested in coming in as the new treasurer and changing a lot of things, though you have some ideas. Why don't you boast a little bit about some of well, we know, AAA bond rating. Tell me some things.
Well, I think that if you really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, the treasurer's mission is to collect taxes. When Frank O'Leary took office, the tax delinquency rate, which is a little bit of a report card for the office, the tax delinquency rate back then was over 9%. Yeah. It is now under 0.5%. It's actually at 40 basis points and going lower. That saves Arlingtonians about $60 million. If we had a tax delinquency rate of over 9%, we would have a shortfall of $60 million. That's the budget, roughly, of the entire police force.
Oh yeah, we definitely couldn't afford to lose any dollars at this stage of the game. Now, some of the techniques that you've used to reach out to your customers or the citizens of Arlington, tell us what you've done.
Well, there's two ways to reduce your delinquency rate. One is to have aggressive collections, and that we do, but there's also the aspect of preventing delinquency. And we have done that through technology, through reminders, through email reminders, and even phone call reminders to citizens. When you remind them to pay their taxes and they get them in on time, first, they don't have a 10% penalty, which is applied by law, and there's nothing we can do. So it saves Arlingtonian monies, but at the same time, it also frees up our collection staff to focus on true delinquency and not just those people that forgot
or put it somewhere in the mail. It's so nice. And how many, you do robocalls. How many robocalls did you do your last time?
We did about 3,000 robocalls, and I'm sure the calls went to some people that had already put their checks in the mail, but getting that extra phone call, I think, is worth it, especially for those people who have forgotten. And I have many people have come up to me and told me that I saved them $400, $500, $600 by having that robocall.
Well, now that's some of the customer service that you do. But in terms of collecting the taxes, and then what happens to the money after that? So you've collected the taxes, you do some investing.
Yes, we do. The Treasurer's Office is responsible for collecting the funds, safekeeping them, which also means investing them, and then dispersing them as the county dictates. So we do. We also do investments over the course of a year. We invest $1 billion because over the course of a year, that's how much money comes into Arlington County.
And just so that everyone understands that you're fully equipped to handle that, tell me a little bit about your professional background prior to coming to your role.
Well, I have when I started out with experience as a commercial banker. So that I got a lot of experience in finance. I then I actually went to business school. I have my MBA from Harvard, and after that I went into.
That's no big deal here in Arlington. By the way, I'm just kidding.
Then after that, I went into operations. I actually worked for the Price Company, which owned and operated Price Clubs. And that was a very good introduction to operations, which is, I think, probably 90% of the treasurer's office in terms of what's required
Okay, so on a day-to-day basis, you're investing and you're collecting and you're providing customer service, but there's also a concern for those individuals who may be struggling paying for their taxes. So you have a program in place. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the Taxpayer Assistance Program, and through that program, they can get loans.
Absolutely. There are times in people's lives where they just don't have the money to pay their taxes. So we've arranged with a local community bank to lend money to people for their taxes. The important thing to note is that it is not contingent on a credit report. There's no credit check, no credit background. And that's because the treasurer actually guarantees the funds. Okay. So when a person comes in that doesn't have the money to pay their taxes, they're going to have to pay a 10% penalty anyway. So instead, they pay the 10% to the bank, and then there's no more interest charged, and they will have 6 to 10 months to repay that loan.
Okay, so that's very helpful. But also Arlington County through the Department of Health and Human Services, and I believe we have the county number on the screen. If somebody was in need of tax relief, that comes from a different office, and so they can call the Arlington County main number at 703-228-3000 for more information on that. Well, I want to congratulate you on your willingness to run for office and share with us a little bit about yourselves. Please join us again as we get closer to the election date, and we'll announce the news when Frank decides to retire.
That would be great.
Thanks for joining us, Carla. That's the Sustainable Scoop. I'm Miriam Gennari. Back to you at the news desk.